Jim?
If you're a dreamer out there, should you have confidence that this president is going to reach an agreement that will protect you from being deported?
You should. I think you saw that. You guys got to come into the room in a pretty unprecedented way and sat in there for almost an hour listening to the president talk about it, listening to the president commit to getting a solution on this. Right now, we're counting on Republicans and Democrats to come together, which we think they will, to make a deal on DACA and on border security, which is a vital part of that conversation and something that we insist be part of it.
And a quick follow-up on FISA. There seems to be a pattern, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there is no pattern, where the president watches something on Fox and Friends and then he tweets about it. Apparently this morning, one of their personalities, Andrew Napolitano, said that this is not a good deal, Mr. President, don't do this. And then he went on Twitter and tweeted about the FISA program. There have been folks out there who have said, you know, there's a cause and effect. He watches something on Fox and Friends, and then he tweets about it. Is that what happened this morning, and does that go on?
I'm sure you're disappointed he's not watching CNN.
I think you watch a lot of CNN, if you don't mind.
I don't think that's true. Your numbers would be higher. In reference to the question specifically. No, let's not. In response to the question, as I just said, the president has a great deal of understanding. This is top of mind. He was talking about it last week. He issued a presidential memo on it. So it's not something that just happened this morning. This has been an ongoing discussion and something of great importance. The president doesn't believe that Americans' rights or liberties should be abused, but he certainly believes that Americans should be protected. And he wants to make sure we do both of those things, and that's why he supports the 702, but has concern with FISA more generally. Matthew?
Thank you.
Jim?
Just to be crystal clear on this, does the president want a wall in exchange for giving those dreamers protection?
The president wants border security.
Okay, and
just to be clear.
Okay, so what does border security entail? Does it include the wall at this stage, or could the wall wait until later?
The wall is one of the pieces, as well as technology and a number of other things that have been laid out by the Department of Homeland Security. I believe that Secretary Nielsen spoke about that pretty extensively at the meeting today. That portion was covered by you all during that time frame.
The wall has to be part of a deal in order for these dreamers to have protection.
Border security does have to be part of this process.
I mean, there's a difference.
Why we
right?
want to secure our border? I absolutely do, because the safety and security of the people of this country are the president's #1 responsibility and his #1 priority when it comes to anything that he does. So absolutely.
That, but you understand how
Andrew?
the wall could be different than border security, Sarah. Border security can
No,
mean
actually,
drones,
I don't,
it can
Jim.
mean agents, it could mean more fencing. It doesn't necessarily mean a physical
And that's part of the
wall.
negotiation that we expect Congress to have.
But you understand Democrats are saying that they may not be in favor of this kind of deal. That they're not
If
going to exchange
Democrats
the wall
aren't in
for
favor of
dreamers.
protecting American citizens, then I think we've hit a sad day in American history, but I don't believe that to be the case, because as we heard many of them say as they sat around that table when several of you were in the room, they are committed to border security. They do want it, and most of them have voted for it previously before this legislation hit the floor. So anything different is just...
a wall. If they say thanks but no thanks for a wall.
Jim, I'm not negotiating with you. I'm going to let Congress take care of that. Andrew?
Yeah, if you didn't see confusion and contradiction between that first tweet and the White House past stated policy, then why 2 hours later issue that second tweet that seemed to clarify the position?
We weren't confused, but some of you guys were, and we wanted to make sure you knew the White House position.
People on the Hill or people in these offices?
I had several
that have been
questions
saying-
from people in the room, as I'm sure all of you know, because most of you were the ones sending them. The President's been clear about what his position is. We've issued several statements on this, put out one last night that had to do with this. Look, I can't be more clear. I'm speaking on behalf of the President, on behalf of the administration, on what our position is, and I think I've laid that out several times here today. Blake?
Sarah, on Medicaid and what CMS put out today, critics would say you need to be healthy to get a job in the first place. How are they wrong?
Look, certainly we want the American workforce to be healthy, and we're focused on helping improve health care across the board, but we also want people to have jobs. We're working on both of those things simultaneously. I don't see how that conflates with one another.
People are just taking advantage of the system? Is that what,
I'm sorry?
Do you think people are just just flatly taking advantage of the system?
I think there are certainly cases where that happens. We don't think that's the overwhelming majority, but there's certainly that's an issue and something we want to be sure to address.
Sarah, back in the summer, the president said 100% he would talk with Special Counsel Mueller. Yesterday, he said we'll see what happens. He seems to raise questions about whether there would be an interview. What's changed between the summer and now, and the president's thinking about speaking with Robert Mueller?
Nothing's changed. We're going to continue to be fully cooperative with the special counsel as we have been. However, the president and his personal attorneys are going to discuss this matter with the office of the special counsel, not reporters, and that's going to be the process that we follow. Dave?
Those discussions are still going on?
We're still cooperating fully with the special counsel, yes. Dave, go ahead.
Back on the tax cuts, you mentioned that the Walmart bonuses are having the impact that you had hoped. As you know, Republicans alone in Congress passed the tax cuts. Democrats didn't vote for it at all. Why do you
We think that's sad. We wish they had.
How do you explain then that almost twice as many Republican incumbents are quitting Congress this year as opposed to Democrats?
Look, it's a midterm election, but we fully anticipate moving forward with strong House and Senate Republicans. Whether it's this year or next year, we're still focused on getting things done for the American people. And I really can't weigh in too much on specifics of the election or the midterms, but we feel really comfortable with where we are, and certainly with the record of success that we've had in 2017 to be able to run on that in 2018. Stephen?
Sarah, I am still confused about the timing of the tweet this morning, because it was 7:30 this morning, and the president referenced the fact that the House was going to vote today on this controversial FISA bill. He said that he intimated that under FISA his campaign was abused. Why would he do that this morning? The morning of the House vote on a program that he so cares about and wants.
As I said, it was top of mind. DNI also put out a new policy on FISA this morning. This is something that's been ongoing, a regular topic of discussion, and the president wanted to put something out. There's not much more than that.
Sarah, I'm not sure I got a clear answer from the Treasury Secretary to my question about what this administration hopes to achieve with additional sanctions on Iran. So I want to give you a crack at that.
I'll wait until additional sanctions are made before I weigh in on what that would look like, but as the Treasury Secretary said, we anticipate that that's likely to happen, and we'll keep you posted as it does and what that process will look like. Michael? Yeah, we haven't made a final decision on JCPO.
Ones would be outside of that.
Obviously, yeah.
Back to immigration real quick. Yesterday, I guess, a group of House Republicans put out an immigration plan that would deal with DACA, but would also do a whole lot of things that weren't kind of under the umbrella of the four things that you guys outlined in the meeting yesterday. Was that helpful? Was that not helpful to getting to a deal ultimately? Does the president wish that they take that off the table so that you can focus on what might be happening with Senator Flake or others in the Senate? How does a competing package?
We think it's a great starting point. We think it's a great place.
Even though it went beyond what the parameters that the president very specifically, and then you later after
he laid out the things he felt had to be included, not just what could be included. Certainly, we think that this is a good starting point, part of the negotiation process. If we could get everything done, we think that's much better than just getting part of it done. But we're okay with getting a deal done as long as it falls into the parameters that the president laid out.
But he understands, right, that adding the extra things are what makes what has the potential to make this more difficult, because various constituencies think of those things as poison pills that are actually going to.
I think that's why it's called a negotiation. Everybody puts everything on the table they want. You figure out what you're not willing to give up, which we've laid out, and you try to come out with everybody winning, which that's what we're hoping to do. Both Republicans, Democrats, the House, and the Senate. We've laid out those non-negotiables for us, and we're going to move forward in that process.
You get that by the next week or so, or do you?
I'm not going to put a time frame on it, but we certainly hope to get it done. I think the priority is making sure that we get it done and we get it done right. April?
Sarah, Secretary Mnuchin said that this White House has been working with businesses as it relates for a while, as it relates to this tax plan. And when it comes to Walmart, had this White House been talking with Walmart about a safety net for the employees that were going to lose their jobs today? Because I'm looking at a sign right now from Sam's Club that says, this club will be closed on January 11th, 2018. That's today, the day that Secretary Mnuchin talks about how wonderful there will be increases in pay for Walmart workers.
I'm not aware about a conversation about a specific safety net. I can tell you that we're excited about the fact that they've raised minimum wage. They have increased opportunities when it comes to paid family leave, and that they are increasing salaries to over 1 million American workers. We think that's a positive. In terms of specifics on a safety net and conversations around that, I couldn't speak to that.
With welfare reform, is there a status report? Because I understand that Ryan and McConnell are not together on issues of welfare reform as it relates to education. Where does the president stand on this back and forth?
We're having conversations about that. We think it's important policy to look at, but right now our focus primarily is on the budget, and secondary is getting a deal done in regards to immigration on DACA and border security, and most likely moving on to infrastructure from there. John?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Two brief questions. The President said yesterday that, and I quote, "We are going to take a strong look at the libel laws." Now, many lawyers said that was an unusual statement because all libel laws are at the state level and not the federal level. Was he referring to states should take a look at libel laws or something else?
I think certainly states should take a look at it. Look, the president's frustrated with the misreporting and fake news that regularly takes place. He is tired of the media's obsession over recent fictitious book on the president and his administration, and he thinks that when things like that happen, there should be some action of recourse. He's simply stating that it should be looked into. Francesca?
I mean,
Sorry.
he meant the states, not that there should be federal libel laws.
I think he was speaking generally that libel laws should be looked at.
My other
Second
question
question.
is the administration have any reaction to the reports of the arrest of former Iranian President Ahmadinejad, who was leading a protest movement against the regime?
Not at this time. No, John. Francesca?
Thank you, sir. Back on the president's first tweet this morning in FISA, when he said that it may have been used, the FISA Act, to surveil and abuse his campaign, what specifically was he talking about there when he said may and abuse and surveil? Could you point me in the right direction?
Look, I think that this is something we've talked about many times before. There are a lot of things that indicate that there was surveillance at Trump Tower, and I'm not sure what the clarification is needed on that front. Trey?
Thanks, Sarah. Two questions for you. First, a few days ago you said the White House did not have any reaction to the transcript that was released by Senator Feinstein related to Fusion GPS. Is the president aware of this transcript? And does he have any reaction to the FBI references within the transcript and what was said by that gentleman?
We certainly think it's a gross overstep by Senator Feinstein to release that transcript. There's been a lot of comments about obstruction of justice, and frankly, the only people that we've seen trying to influence the investigation are former Director Comey and Democrats in Congress, and that would include Senator Feinstein, Representative Schiff, who have both selectively leaked to the media witness interviews. We see that to be a big problem and something that should certainly be considered and looked at.
My follow-up question, today Ecuador announced that it's granting nationality to WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Does the president agree or disagree with this decision by the Ecuadorians?
I haven't spoken to him about that.
Can I ask you on Iran again? When the president went through the exercise in October of decertifying but signing the sanctions waivers, he said words to the effect of "fix it" or "he wouldn't do this again." The fix was supposed to include some legislation which hasn't happened yet. Is the president comfortable with where the "fix it" part of this process is right now, and what is his feeling about what a fix would look like?
Look, the president still strongly believes this is one of the worst deals of all time. And one of the single greatest flaws is that its restrictions leave Iran free in the future to openly develop their nuclear program and rapidly achieve a nuclear weapons breakout capability. Obviously, we see big problems with that. The administration is continuing to work with Congress and with our allies to address those flaws, and we'll keep you guys posted as a decision on that front is made. Hallie?
Thanks, Sarah. I want to ask actually about offshore drilling, but before I do, I'm hoping you can clarify something that you said a couple of times now, which was that a lot of people were confused by that tweet. So Mike Pompeo,
Actually,
Tom
I didn't
Boster-
say a lot of people. You guys said a lot of people were confused.
What was we weren't confused, but some of you were. Is
Some
what
of
you
you,
said.
yeah.
So I want to ask about that because Mike Pompeo was obviously out talking about this, pushing for this. Tom Boster, a lot of people in the president's administration were representing the president's position on this, that he wanted this to pass. His tweet today was confusing. It was contradictory. It just was. So how are people supposed to trust, not us as reporters, but lawmakers, stakeholders, policymakers, that the people representing the president's position actually are?
I think that the premise of your question is completely ridiculous and shows the lack of knowledge that you have on this process. I've tried several times. I'll do it a 10th time here. Look, the president supports the 702, but he has some very strong concerns about the FISA program more generally. Again, this is why he put out a memo last week outlining such, and why the D&I director put out a new policy this morning. I'm not sure what the confusion is there.
I cleared Sarah before I asked about offshore drilling that you definitively are saying that the president's tweet this morning was, in your view, not at all confusing and not at all contradictory. You think that's an accurate statement? I just want to be very clear about that.
No, it wasn't confusing to me. I'm sorry if it was for you. Jake?
Let me ask you about the offshore drilling ban, Sarah,
Sure,
because
go
there's been a
ahead.
lot of questions about what's happening in Florida. There have been other states that have pointed to the reason this administration is given for exempting Florida, saying that they also would like to be exempt. So how is exempting Florida from the ban anything other, in critics' view, than giving a political favor to White House allies in a key battleground state?
Look, the president is a massive advocate for America not just being energy independent, but being energy dominant. That's just part of that process is the offshore drilling. It's why it's opened up for public comment. These are going to continue to be negotiations. We're going to continue to look for places and ways that we can make America more energy dominant. If that's one of them, then we're going to continue forward in that process. That's why we've opened up drilling in Anwar, the Keystone Pipeline, and cut a lot of job-killing regulations that have to do with that. We're going to continue moving forward in that process. It's an open comment period, and we'll continue to talk with other stakeholders as we make decisions for other areas and other states. Jake?
Not a political favor.
Thank you,
It's not,
Sarah.
I am not aware of any political favor that would have been part of, so no. Jake?
Thank you, Sarah. On prison reform, the president recently commuted the sentence of a first-time offender, a father of 10 children, but been sentenced to an excess of 27 years. What kinds of injustices does the president view as priorities?
Look, the president is looking, one of the big topics of conversation for today specifically is looking at reducing the rates of recidivism, specific to helping reduce violent crime. This is a beginning conversation. This is to a listening session, and we're going to continue working through this process. But that was the #1 topic at today's meeting, and that's the big priority he has on that front at this point.
There have been reports out, and if you could please clarify, what is Mr. Kushner's role in the prison reform initiative exactly?
He's helping lead that conversation and put stakeholders together from a number of different areas that have expertise on this matter. I'll take one last question. Anita?
Can you just, going back to immigration, can you just shed a little bit of light on what the holdup is? Members of the Republican Party were in the negotiations. They're the ones who are saying they agree with Democrats. The administration has been in the meetings, at least some of them. So what do you know not like?
I believe there's only one member that said that there was a deal reached, and the other members are well in sync on the same page that we haven't quite gotten there, but we feel like we're close. And again, we're going to keep having these conversations. The president had a meeting here today with a number of members, both from the House and Senate, Republicans and Democrats, as a follow-up discussion on immigration. And again, we feel very strongly that we can get a deal made.
One piece that the president talked about missing, is that the issue, or is there not enough funding? Can you shed a little light?
I think it's Democrats agreeing to the other side of the deal. I think that's where we are. And again, we're confident and feel like we're going to get there. Thanks so much, guys.